All right, today we are comparing two $1,200 scooters. We are going to be comparing the Segway Ninebot MAX G3 to the Ausom DT2 Pro. Now, these are two of my favorite scooters. I do have to say, I did pay $1,200 for the Ausom DT2 Pro. I do have a $50 off code Quest if you're looking to get this. I think it works on any of their scooters. But I actually bought the Segway MAX G3 during the pre-sale, and it was like $500 or $600 off. So the retail on this is $1,500. But it's always on sale, mostly for $1,200, but I did get it for $900. This one, the retail price is $1,349, but I've only ever seen it on sale for $1,199. Now, one of the biggest differences between these two scooters is charge time. Right out of the box with the default cable, the Ausom scooter has a 12-hour charge time. I think it's actually like 12 and a half. You do have a dual charge option where you can put two chargers in and cut the time in half, gives you about a 6-hour charge time. But right out of the box, the Segway MAX G3 has a 3.5-hour charge time, and their dual charging option cuts the time down to 2.5 hours, which honestly, that's really quick for charging a scooter battery. Now, the two scooters do have a couple of things in common. They both have dual brakes, rear and front brakes. But the Segway G3 has disc brakes, and the Ausom DT2 Pro has hydraulic brakes, which the hydraulic brakes are better, but I think you almost need it on this one because it has a higher top speed. Now, they both do have dual front and rear suspension. They both have turn signals. The Segway has them on the handlebars, which you supposedly can see on the front and back as long as your hand's not covering them. And the Ausom only has them on the rear. They're on the deck. But I gotta say, the Ausom turn signals, they suck. It's always on. You hit a bump and the turn signal turns on. On the Segway, you have a pretty easy way of turning it on and off, and it doesn't accidentally turn itself on. The Ausom, it's almost pointless. They should just remove it or tell me how to disable it. Now, they both have some form of EABS, which on the Ausom scooter, you can toggle it with a secret menu. You can activate zero start, a few different things on the secret menu. And the Segway is pretty nifty. They have the best app for any scooter I've seen. I don't love scooter apps, but they do have the best app, and you can customize a lot of the settings in there. And that's one thing that separates the Segway from some of the other brands. It separates it from the Ausom, but a lot of the other brands is this thing is packed with features, including that app. Now, the Segway MAX G3 has a pretty nice display, one of the nicest displays I've seen on any scooter, and it gives you a lot of information. It does a pretty good job telling you the speed, telling you your battery percent. It's the most accurate as far as tracking the range goes I've seen on any scooter. Some of them say you went 20 miles, but you only went like 14. This one is very accurate. I have the biggest issues with the remaining mileage that you have because it'll say you have a certain amount left that you can go, but it's not always accurate. But your current trip, the miles that you went, it's very accurate with that every time I've tested it. Now, some other features I like on the Segway MAX G3, they do have that really nice display, but this also has airlock on it. I can set it to where it unlocks when I come close to it with my phone. I can start it with my phone, unlock it, lock it. It's got some pretty cool features. It also has Apple Find My built into it, which does seem pretty nice on a scooter. It kind of sucks that it's not Android and Apple. I don't know what it would take to do both, but if you got an iPhone and somebody steals your Segway, you're in good shape. Now, they both have a few speed modes here. On the Segway, you have a walk mode, which is just under 3 miles an hour, an eco mode, a drive mode, and a sport mode. I think that's 10, 15, and 28 miles an hour. And through the app, you can slightly adjust those if you want it to be a little bit higher or lower. Now, on the Ausom DT2 Pro, there's 3 modes. There's an eco mode, a sport mode, and a race mode. And you get different speeds depending on whether you're using single or dual motor. Now, I mostly stick with dual motor, and the speeds end up being about 19 miles an hour on eco, about 35 on sport, and then it'll go between like 42 and 44 on race mode. On the website, the Ausom DT2 Pro has the speed listed at 42 miles an hour. It says it'll give you about a 71-mile range, but they always tell you the range in eco mode, and there's nobody out there driving in only eco mode. I actually picked the Ausom DT2 Pro out because I found the brand. They had some impressive looking scooters, and this one just had the longest range on it by far. Like, I know I'm not going to get the marketed range on there because they're usually telling you in just eco mode, but it had the longest range I'd seen on any scooter in the price range, so I got it, and I'm actually very happy with it because I get about 30 miles total with the Ausom DT2 Pro when I'm using max speed, sport mode, and race mode. I sometimes use the eco mode on this, but that's because the eco mode's about 20 miles an hour. Now, I have some issues with the Segway as far as what they advertise, because they genuinely give you ranges based on different speeds that you might go, like 20 miles an hour, 25, 28 miles an hour. So where most of them just tell you on the website your max range, you're gonna probably get an eco mode. On the Segway website, they had a breakdown for each of the modes, and they say in the sport mode on 28 miles an hour that you're gonna go 25 miles, and I'm telling you, I haven't come close to it a single time. Now, my actual range, while they say I'm gonna go 25 miles at the max speed, I usually get 15 or 16, which that's 60% of what they say I should get. And that's half of what I'm getting on this other scooter that not only goes faster, it's the same price. So with just that information alone, the Segway only gives me about 15, 16 miles when I'm really ripping it, versus the Ausom DT2 Pro giving me about 30 miles. This one is my favorite scooter. Like, if I'm riding something, I'm usually riding more than 15 miles most of my rides that I do. So this one is just, it's almost required. For a while, before I got the Ausom scooter, I'd ride the Segway around and I'd carry around the charge cord and I'd just plug it in if I found a spot. Now, that's not the best to do for it because the scooter's hot. You don't want to charge it when it's hot. I've learned since to let it cool down. The range on this thing is disappointing, and I do have to say, I reached out to Segway and let them know that I was only getting 15, 16 miles. They said, oh, that doesn't sound right. Send it back to us, we'll fix it. I sent it back to Segway. I had it refurbished. I tested the range out again after a fresh charge, and I got less range than I got on any of my other tests. So they didn't give me a breakdown of exactly what they did. They just said it was refurbished, but I sent it to Segway and they sent it back worse. And I sent it to them in the original box and they gave me some rando box that wasn't as cool as mine. So if I want to resell it, I don't have the original box anymore. That adds value. Now, I do like the Ausom DT2 Pro. It has a dual motor. Dual motor is all I want to ride now that I've experienced single motor versus dual motor. Now, the single motor on the Segway G3, it's like an 850 watt motor with a 2000 watt max. But on the Ausom scooter, you have two 1100 watt motors with like a near 3000 watt max. I think it's 2912. So I will say the dual motor is just so much fun. It's just so much better. I can toggle to single motor. I almost never do. The dual motor's where it's at. But I do have to say, I've rode about a dozen scooters now. The acceleration on the Segway G3 is very impressive for a single motor. They also have a boost mode, which you can activate in the settings here. But just the regular sport mode acceleration is impressive. It doesn't quite compete with the dual motor, but when I rode this for the first time after getting it back from Segway, I was like, dang, bro, this thing is really doing it. So at this point, I've used a number of different throttles: thumb only, half twist and a thumb like this, twist only, and then the trigger throttle on this. I have to say that this is my favorite throttle, the trigger throttle. It does feel like it's a little on the cheaper side. I would like to try a nicer version of a similar style, but this, when I'm riding a scooter, seems like it makes the most sense. Now, the half twist and thumb throttle on the Segway here is very nice because you do have options if you want to use the twist. I mostly use the thumb, but it is nice to have that option. But at the end of the day, I'd rather use a trigger throttle. It's just much easier for me, and I feel like I get more finesse with it. Now, these two are equipped with slightly different tires. The Segway MAX G3 has 11-inch tires. I think they're 2.5 inches wide. I just got out my tape measure. It doesn't say. Almost every other scooter tells you how wide the tires are on the website. They didn't say here, but it's not as wide as the 3-inch tires on the Ausom DT2 Pro. But we have 11 by 2.5-inch street tires on the Segway MAX G3. And on the Ausom DT2 Pro, we have a slightly wider 3-inch tire, but it's only 10 inches. And they are all-terrain tires, so they do a little bit better on mixed terrain, grass and gravel and that type of stuff. So they both have tubeless tires, but the Segway came with self-healing tires, which is very nice. I don't know how much more it costs for them to include that, but like all scooters need to have it. On the Ausom, it has tubeless tires, which I've learned if you haven't rode it in a week or two, the air in the tire might be down a little bit. But I have had to put a little bit of flat out on one of the tires. I just punctured it and I got some flat out in there keeping it going. But the tires on the Segway seem much more resilient, especially because they're self-healing. The Segway does have traction control, which you can turn on the app. And I've ridden a few scooters where they didn't have it and I'm slipping and sliding. And then I put myself in a similar situation on the Segway and it just does a great job. Now, the Ausom DT2 Pro has more powerful motors. It has dual motor, so faster speeds, further range. It also has a 53% slope climb. And the single motor Segway here, it only has about a 28% slope climb, but they both do a pretty good job going uphill. But obviously, the more powerful dual motor scooter is just gonna have an easier time with any hills you're trying to go over. All right, now as far as rider size goes, the Ausom DT2 Pro is much larger. You're gonna be able to fit a heavier person on here, a taller person on here. Now the Ausom DT2 Pro is about 74 pounds total, and the Segway MAX G3 is only about 54 pounds total. So you have a 20-pound weight difference. I do have to say the Segway is a little bit easier. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's just easier to carry and handle. The Ausom scooter is pretty awkward. The latch on it isn't the best, although the fold latch on the Segway MAX G3 is also not that great. But the Segway is way easier to move around. If you got to ride it somewhere and then like carry it up the stairs, you'd much rather do it on the Segway. Now, as far as how much weight they can hold, I believe the Segway MAX G3 has a max weight limit of 286 pounds, and on the Ausom DT2 Pro, it's 297 pounds, just a little bit more. Now, I do have to say the Ausom it's larger. If you're on the taller side, you're probably gonna wanna stick with something like this, or at least something this size. The Segway MAX G3, it's pretty good for me. I'm about 6'3", legally 6'4" in Florida. I'm about 185 pounds. The Ausom DT2 Pro, much more comfortable ride. It's got higher handlebars, they're wider handlebars. It has a larger deck to stand on. It has a little kick plate that I can put my back foot on, which I naturally want to do on the Segway MAX G3. I just end up pushing down on the fender. On the Segway MAX G3, the handlebars curve in a little bit, and the whole post for the handlebars leans in a little bit. So it just feels smaller. I think that helps a smaller rider feel more comfortable. They say the height range on these is about 4'11" to 6'7" on the Ausom DT2 Pro. I've actually rode one of their other models with an adjustable handlebar that lets you get it a little bit shorter, which is actually pretty nice. You can't adjust either of these, but I think on the Segway website, they said the, what was it, minimum height requirement was 5.25 feet, which is like 5'3", but they don't give you like a max range. I don't think that this is too small for me, the Segway MAX G3, but I do think that the Ausom DT2 Pro is just that much more comfortable to ride. Now, I do want to break down the grips on here, because on the Ausom DT2 Pro, you have palm rests for your hands on the handlebars, and their grips are very nice. It works well with the trigger throttle. On the Segway MAX G3, I hate the grips. I don't know, it's like the material is like slippery to me. I'm grabbing it right now, I'm not riding, but it's just, I feel like my hands want to slip off. Several times when I hit a bump, I would feel my hands slip off. I caught it a few times and like my fingertips between my thumb and my fingers, I'm like, oh gee, I almost lost it there. Now, I was gonna brag about this little front latch thing here where you can lock your scooter. They got something where you can put a chain through it. But I inspected it and somebody left a comment on one of my videos. There's just like 4 bolts holding this on. You could just pop this off if there's a chain around it. It's not that secure. Now, as far as water resistance ratings go, the Segway MAX G3 has an IPX6 resistance rating, and the Ausom DT2 Pro has an IP54 resistance rating, which at this point, both of these scooters, I've rode them in like just a very light rain over a few puddles, mostly trying to get out of the rain that I got caught in, and I didn't have issues with either of them. Now, at the end of the day, these are both some pretty good $1,200 scooters. If you're looking right now, they're $1,200. I do have the code QUEST on this one, drops it down to about $1,150. And I don't think I can get a code on Segway's website. Let me know if you know anybody that has one. I'll ask them how they got a code. But knowing everything that I know now, I would say this is probably one of the best scooters you can get in the price range. The faster speed, the almost twice as much distance on this when I'm going max speed is worth it alone. Like the Segway MAX G3 has a lot of cool features that I like, but at the end of the day, I don't care about those features as much as I care about the range. Like, it's not worth me losing 9 miles of advertised range to get all the extra features like Apple Find My and turn-by-turn instructions, which I used one time, and I knew where I was going anyway. I just wanted to test it out. The first scooter brand I ever bought was a Segway. It was the Segway MAX G2, and I bought it because I had heard of Segway before, years ago. I just heard of Ausom in the last 90 days or so, but I would say their scooters are awesome. Segway I only know about because of the self-balancing things in Paul Blart, but like, they haven't been making scooters that long. But I will say I got lulled into Segway being the top scooter brand, the #1 selling scooter brand. But I also have to mention, I believe that they have the most recalled scooter. Like right after I got my Segway, they had a massive recall on a different model, and one that I didn't get. But I had tons of people sending me articles, sending me screenshots. And I think it was like 200,000 Segway scooters recalled. So I don't think just because they're the biggest brand, I should just give them all my money and trust them with everything. But with all the knowledge I have now, and I only have $1,200 to get a scooter, I'm getting the Ausom DT2 Pro because I can ride it much faster and I can go twice as far. I don't care about all the features if I can go twice as far on this. Honestly, the next scooter that I get is gonna have a better range than this. That's what I'm looking to do. Can I find another scooter that's as fun to ride, but I can ride it longer? That's what I wanna do. Now, I have heard they're dropping an extended battery for this or whatever, but it's not even gonna give it close to the range of the Ausom DT2 Pro, so I'm just gonna go with the Ausom every time. It's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit heavier, it's a little bit more awkward to carry, but once it's on the road and I'm riding it, with the Ausom scooter, it's like the name implies, it's awesome. Either way, I'm gonna put referral links for both of these in the description and pinned comment if you're looking at getting them. I do have a code QUEST on AusomStore.com if you wanna save $50, but if you're getting out there, bro, I see crazy stuff every day. Ride safe, wear a helmet. I'm just realizing I shot the whole video in 1080p and I'm not going to do it again.